Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about screw glue, especially about the screws that are secured with screw glue, which are most of the screws in our replicas. The reason we have screw glue on most of the screws is because we want to prevent them from loosening up over time and just getting lost in the field while you're playing. But sometimes you want to upgrade or repair something on your replicas, and in this case you will need to know how to remove these screws. Should you try removing them with force, two things could happen. One, you basically damage the screw head, which renders them useless, or you could even break the screws themselves. Before you heat up the screws, you want to make sure that there are no vulnerable parts around, which could be rubber, plastic, fiber optics, any of that. And should you not be able to remove them first, you could always try to shield them. It could be as easy with a couple of layers of thin aluminum foil. To heat the screws up properly, you will need something stronger than a regular lighter. You can use a heat gun or you can use a torch like this one. What is important is that if you cannot shield them or remove the parts, always try to heat it up at an angle where you don't heat up anything that should not get heated up, as we said before. And another thing you should keep in mind is that if you heat up these areas, you can imagine they get very hot and you don't want to touch them, or otherwise you will get injured or burnt, and that's something that's not very pleasant. Now, before I show you how to do this, please keep in mind you need to use the correct bits. Just because it fits, it doesn't mean that it is the correct bit. So how do you do that? You basically try all the bits going from the biggest size down. As soon as the bit fits properly without too much wiggle, that's the correct bit you want to use. For example, I'm going to show it on the gearbox for the SSR4. As you can see here on this gearbox shell, one screw head is already missing and another one is completely stripped. How did this happen? Somebody tried to remove the screw without heating up the area first. So avoid that. Now for the correct tool bit, I'm going to take the biggest that I can find. Yeah, this one fits right in there and there is no wiggle. So this will be the correct bit. Since we're already with this gearbox, I'm gonna show you an example on how to remove one of these screws from here. So we got the correct tool bit. One more time, I'm gonna test if it actually fits correctly. I'm gonna test it once if I can open it. Try pushing in the tool so you don't slip and strip the screw head. Okay, this one's in there good. So we're gonna start by heating this up. This is pretty safe to heat it up, but still I'm gonna try not to heat up this area here, as there's plastic in there. I'm trying to avoid breaking anything. If I want to be completely sure, I can take the aluminum foil, place it right here underneath, like so. Hold it down with my hand. And now I'm gonna put some fire on it in a specific angle that goes that way. When you do this, make sure that there's nothing lying around that you could burn. So here we go. So I'm gonna heat up this area for about 30 seconds. All right, that was about 30 seconds. Now make sure not to touch anything and burn yourself. Hold it somewhere where it's cold. Press down and start twisting. And there it goes. The screw is out. Don't grab it with your hand. It's burning hot. You don't want to touch that. And there it is. Place it somewhere that could not melt or burn. And this is how you remove the screw, for one example, from the gearbox. We're going to continue with another replica that usually has a problem. Which is the SSP18 and the screw right here in the back. I can already see somebody try to open it up. It is kind of stripped, so we might have a little problem finding the right bit, but same rule as before. Start with the biggest, hold it onto the screw, Yeah, that will be the correct bit. There's a little bit of a slip, which basically means for me I need to push down really hard. Now, as you can see, the nozzle here is made of plastic and you don't want to heat this one up. If you damage it, it's not going to seal properly anymore and your replica is not going to shoot as it should. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare my tool that I need. Remove the spring to make things easier. And I'm going to hold back the nozzle. As before, I'm going to try to put it at an angle as good as possible. I can see that already here. It would be smart to actually add some aluminum foil. Maybe already get it into a shape that fits in there. I think that should be enough. Yeah, that looks good. I'm still holding the nozzle away. Okay. So first let's try if I can actually get it out first. No, that's too hard. Okay. So again, gonna take the torch and heat it up for about 30 seconds. All right, we got 30 seconds. All right, it turns, and here we go. There it is. Place it somewhere where it's safe. Yeah, you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there is a bunch of stuff on the screw. So I guess that's why they couldn't get it out. Now, since we've heated up this area here and there is a bunch of plastic parts lying around, also inspect it right away. See if anything got damaged. So far, everything looks good. The side dropped because basically the screw holds it down, so everything is okay. All right, perfect. So that worked very well. And next we're going to continue with another replica. Next we're going to do the same thing with the SSP5. I didn't mention it before, but every time you do anything with the replica, always make sure that it's empty so you don't have a negligent discharge. In this case, we don't have a mag in. Nothing in there, so we can go right ahead. All right, so usually the parts that people have issues is the front sight. Now, the issues that we could have removing this is we have a fiber optic right here. Two things you can do. You can either remove the fiber itself. For this, you would have to heat it up a little bit, just so it gets softer, and you can just pull it out and later put it back in by just putting it in there, heating it up again in the front, and just pressing it down so it doesn't move out of there anymore. Let's see first if I can actually remove the screw without heating it up. As we did before, I'm gonna take the biggest bit I can find. Okay, that doesn't fit there at all. Same thing. Yeah, I think I found the right fit. No wiggle, that's good. So especially with this model, you can see that this is where the screw is, and right here we already have the fiber optic. So you can imagine that if I heat it up right now, I'm probably gonna burn the fiber optic. The first thing I'm gonna try is if I can just push out the fiber. Up, perfect. All right, place it somewhere so I don't lose it. Now take some aluminum foil. You can obviously also remove your red dot, but this should be rather safe, especially when you consider you can work with angles. So you're gonna heat this up for about 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, let's give it a try. That's a bit of work, but it works. There it is. There we have the screw. Now before removing this, keep in mind, we just heated it up. Don't try to grab it and remove it. Use tools. And there it is. If you want to put it back together, please let it cool down first. Don't get injured. And that's basically how you remove screws that are attached with screw glue. So just to summarize everything again, when you're trying to remove a screw, always make sure that you're using the right bit going from the biggest to the smallest. Check first if you can remove the screw without too much force, without heating it up first. For this, make sure to apply pressure on the screw itself, not too much, just so much that it will not slip, so you don't strip the screw. Next thing, if you have to heat it up, make sure that there is no plastic or any other part around that could get damaged by the heat. If you apply heat, do it at an angle. If you cannot remove all the parts, do it at an angle where you cannot damage any of the other parts. And always keep in mind that after you heat something up, it is hot. Do not touch it. Once the screw is out, don't try removing it with your hand from your tools. Always use tweezers, anything else, so you don't have to touch it. And the hot parts, put them somewhere where you cannot burn it. Like, don't put it on a plastic surface or on any fabric or anything. That's all I got for you. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.